We worked with artists, we worked with model makers, and we worked with props designers and things like that to make this a reality, and every single person brought something different to it. I'm Whittaker. I'm creative director at State of Play, and I helped create Lumino City. The concept for Lumino City came from some long-held desire to create a puzzle adventure game. It came from wanting to make something by hand, and all my previous work has always been done by hand. It was a process of working through that and taking it to its logical conclusion, where absolutely everything that you see on screen has been created by hand. I did a few sketches and realized that what I was trying to do was make my sketches look like they were three-dimensional, and it started to feel like cheating. So I thought, well, what happens if I print these sketches out and then take a photograph of them? And the moment that I did that, and I got depth of field, and I got the wonderful quality that a photographic image has, it was like, bang, that is incredible, that's what I wanted. The fact that it blurred into the background created intrigue, and you wanted to go in there. You got all the beautiful shadows and lighting for free. And that was that eureka moment, I guess. I started small. We didn't just dive in and make a 3-meter high city all out of paper and card. We started off with some tiny little tests. I ran a little character along an old cardboard model I made out of packing crate and stuff. And we made a game called Loom, which is the prequel. It's much smaller. It's taking one house. I had plans for Lumino City, but we just took one house and we tried to make that as dense and as tightly packed as possible and as fun as possible. That was filmed in my mate Tom's mum's dining room. It was so low budget, but the best thing was that you couldn't tell. The quality of the image we got on screen was incredible. We solved so many problems doing that we thought, right, that worked, and that was just a tiny bit of the story. We're confident with this. We can turn this into something truly amazing. You can see that there is no interface here, really. We've tried to strip back everything from the traditional puzzle adventure game. There's no buttons. You should just look at it, see what's the most interesting, and touch on it. So, for example, here we can see that there is a banister down here that's broken, which looks of interest. So we can put that in our bag. Everything you see in this scene was built by hand. Those are real lights that are lighting up Lumino City there, and they are about to go off, which is important to the story. Personally, I wanted to tell a story about humans' ability to overcome problems and ingenuity, especially in this time when, I think it's really important that we're all looking at renewable energy sources. We're all looking at ways that we can use our human cleverness to overcome the problems we created for ourselves. But I wanted to do this in not a heavy-handed way, and this relationship that we set up between a young girl and a grandfather seemed like a nice way to do this. It's not a relationship that I've seen in film or games, really. And it seemed like a nice thing to play with because the grandfather is handing down skills that have been passed down through the generations, and you're sort of learning them, but he's not telling you what to do, you just feel them, and you feel your way through the game and find by the end that you've suddenly inherited a lifetime's worth of knowledge and inherited the keys to Lumino City, really. You now have the ability to, through your own ingenuity, power up this city. Loom was created with just a team of 3, but what I wanted to do with Lumino City was collaborate more, and I think when you do pull in different people, it doesn't dilute your work at all, it makes it much better. I come from an art college background, and I was quite keen to get people who came from that background again to elevate the artistry, I suppose, in this. I was very keen on using new processes, no matter what they were. I think you're often working at your best if you're like on the borders of what you actually understand. You're having the most fun, for one thing, but you're pushing yourself all the time as well. So there was a magical moment when I'd been doing drawings and I was looking back at the original drawing for Lumino City that I'd done, which is a big cliff town. And I was in a cafe and I saw this work on the walls that was being exhibited, and it turned out to be the work of an architect called Katrina. and she became a very close collaborator on this. I got in touch and we seemed to be working through exactly the same ideas, and it was a coincidence that was too good not to take up. She brought another angle to it, something unique to this world, and she brought new techniques as well. Loom was very small, we could make it all by hand. With Lumino City, we realized that we couldn't do that on this scale, and we needed something that would be able to get really fine detail in this. Katrina one day said, well, how about laser cutting? I use it for my architectural models. And that became an intrinsic way that we made all the models. We allowed it to breathe for quite a while, and we did sketch for a long time, for months before we actually built anything. I mean, it started off as a relatively straight up and down. Lumino City was just a cliff. We experimented with tons of ideas. A sketchbook is 90% rejected. But it's really important, and it's fascinating to go back and kind of see, oh yeah, that's the start of an idea, and everything is sort of whittled away until you're left with, hopefully, the best bits. Lumino City is a model that stands about 3 meters tall. It's full of miniature lights and motors. We filmed this with a motion control camera on a robot arm. So we could do moves like this, track the camera around. And we could also use the benefits of using a camera and a lens. And so, for example, if you're interested in the background, let's see what's over there. We can use pulling focus, we can use depth of field for dramatic effect here, and it's useful in the game to see where you're going. The sketches helped us develop a look and feel, but they would also solve design problems for us all over the place. We needed to know what the player's journey was through there. So, for example, we can work out where to place doors and stuff. We could use this resource just to go back to and pull out all these nice little details that we enjoyed and put all the best bits into the final model. This is a diner in the sky. So this is based on 1950s American diners, and you can see that it's gone through quite a few owners. We've got Joe's, Flo's, Moe's. Inside we have a pinball table, and we actually built a real life-size pinball table that you can play on for this. We knew that we were going to use laser cutting to cut all the details and all the words out, but the diner in the middle remained a bit of a mystery. Was it going to be cardboard? Were we going to sort of fold up paper? But my dad is a silversmith, and he had all the skills and all the materials to actually make this as an original, and that's what we did. We spent a weekend working out how we were going to build a miniature Airstream caravan together, and it was great. It sort of mirrored what was happening in the game, where you handed down skills from generations. I was literally being handed down silversmithing skills whilst making the model. This entire city had to be lit in one lighting setup. Our lighting guy, Tom, did an incredible job to just manage to get the detail in stuff for one thing, but to give it a sense of atmosphere. And when we came to the individual scenes inside, for example, these were separate and we could focus on them individually, which allowed us to do wonderful stuff with the atmospherics. One of the biggest challenges was the fact that because we've made a model for real, you can't go and change it afterwards. Often with games, you're tweaking it up to the last minute. You're changing the positions of stuff or the lighting or whatever to improve it constantly. But after we'd filmed this model, there was no going back. So the preparation had to be spot on. And by the end, 1 year, which is what it took to build this huge model, it's pretty much living in Lumino City in my mind. And I had to, because we only had 1 day to film the entire set. We made a 3-dimensional storyboard because you needed to repeat certain actions, sometimes with the door open, sometimes with it closed, sometimes with things moving. But as long as we kept it in our minds for that 1 day, we could do it. Prototyping is important for every game. But with Lumino City, we basically had to make the whole game first as a prototype and be happy with that. And so we built it in Flash, and we built every level knowing exactly where the doors were going to be and all that, and made sure that that worked. And then when we were confident that that worked, we could go to town with the models. It's amazing when you release a game because you get the worst of times and you get the best of times. The team is finished by the end of it. They're just a wreck. You've just been desperately trying to fix the last bugs. After 3 years on Lumino City, you just want it out there. And then you come around to it and you realise it's being well received and it's the best thing ever. And with Lumino City, it just seemed to rise on this wave that culminated with winning a BAFTA in 2015.
And the BAFTA for Artistic Achievement goes to Lumino City.
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. Unbelievable for us. If something inspires you, you can make it however you want, I think. And without these people, that wouldn't have happened. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who's appreciated this game. It means a lot to us. It's incomparable, really. It's one of the best feelings in the world. That little nugget of an idea that you had a few years ago led to that. It's a massive honour, and I felt so pleased for the team as well. Like, everyone who got involved with it put their love into it, and to get everyone up on stage there and sort of say, look, you did well, guys, is brilliant.